Mike. Okay, guys.
Yo. Okay, it's working.
Yeah.
Gentleman and lady that's in the building, I want to say thank you so much for joining on this call. As you guys know, this is a segment, this episode of Convos with Bishop. But more importantly, this is a conversation for injustice, for everything that's been pretty much been going on for God knows how long. I really do not know how the hell this is gonna go, but you know what? This is the type of space and the type of platform that we all need, because you never know. I will say this, my goal is this, and some people will feel like, you know, this can work. Some people think that this is a waste of time. But actually, I have one more person coming in, though, that is a cop, actually, a former lieutenant. And I feel like these type of conversations that we're going to have, you know, will bring up certain uncomfortable topics that would hopefully shed light on, you know, a person that is discriminatory, a person that is racist. And if we are able to hopefully at least maybe skew or maybe even change their mind to maybe even think about differently, then, you know, this episode is all worth it. And I know for a fact that, especially, you know, a lot of you, especially, you know, I'll say, for instance, for me, you know, we're past talking, you know, I mean, for some part of it, honestly, you know, like I want some type of outcome that is not peaceful and maybe even violent to pretty much ensue. That's pretty much, sometimes I do feel like that because of my anger. But just because I feel that way does not mean that we still can't have these conversations. So, hey, Geisha, how you doing?
Hi, sorry it took so long to get on here.
No, it's fine. It's all good. So, just want to introduce everybody, because I think I know everybody here. So let me get it going. Lamar Gibson. He's originally from Chicago, but he actually lives in Las Vegas right now. Dino, former photographer extraordinaire in Miami. Anthony Pass and Warren Crump. Anthony is actually a really, really great friend of mine, and his new wife, I should say. Congratulations again to you, to Miss Charlia. Warren's the person who I've known since 2009, honestly, from FIU. So shout out to you. Matthew Rosa, I mean, you already know what time it is, you know what I'm saying? But he's a great friend of mine, one of my really, really, really great friends. Andrew Price. I mean, shit, I've known you since friggin', almost 20 years?
More than that now.
More than that, really, yeah, man. One of my best friends, honestly, from New York, you know what I mean? Aisha, what up? Are you better? Okay, now you up. There you go. She's actually lying down right now, so she's not going to show her face. But it's all
Sorry,
good.
guys. I'm in bed. Long day.
You can be that good. Mr. Jonathan J. Price from Chicago as well, too.
No relation.
Yeah, no relation. Yeah, right. Price, Andrew Price with the beard. He has the Y, and John has the I. So he's from Chicago, pretty much. Miss Geisha, FIU as well too, but also was it FIU?
Kind of. Like,
right? Yeah, but more so,
I was there all the time.
Yeah, but more so a colleague from the nightlife industry. So, yeah. All right. So, with that being said, here are some ground rules for this. So, since we have 9 people, including me, I am not going to do what I was really going to do. I'm going to see how it goes first. But I'm just going to let you know what I might have to do later. For now, this is pretty much, you know, everybody goes. You know what I'm saying? If you need to pretty much speak out, just kind of like, you know, read the room, kind of feel it. If you feel like, you know, because there might be some type of latency here. So definitely anticipate if somebody's going to speak or somebody's not going to speak, so you know when to go in. That's cool. If it does get out of hand, and if it does, and I know it's going to, but it's all good. That's the reason why I'm here. I'm going to mute all of you. And then after that, we're going to try this again. But if it happens again, we're going to do the hands up rule. All right? Y'all know what the hands up rule is, right? Everyone went to school. Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I don't want this to be a dictatorship because honestly, in the climate that we're in, that is the last thing I fucking want to do. Like real talk. Like honestly. So yeah, man. I kind of want to just pretty much jump back in to the conversation that what you guys are pretty much talking about, how, you know, the White Walkers, Dino, on how it's great to have them and to have them on our side. But yeah, do we really have them on our side, or do we just have them? No offense, one. Do we just have them, or do we have them temporarily? Because I feel like the type of groups that we have, not only white people, but also other groups, we have them. When we do have them, we have them temporarily, and that is the problem that we have in this society. So if you want to go on, and then we can continue.
So, is this I can rock? Okay, so like why I said having like the our Caucasian or just white folks like a part of this, well, like the white youth, like a part of this movement, and just like those trying to be, you know what I'm saying, like allies that are out there pounding like the concrete with. Why I say having them in the movement. Now I understand that there's different factions. There's different people doing all types of crazy stuff. The looters are taking advantage of it. You got of course, like it's a lick. You know what I'm saying? Like they slipping, we're gonna go over there, we're gonna get it. Yes, like they ain't thinking about like the movement at all. They're just thinking, all right, we can get in here and we can make this money. They ain't got nothing to do with it. Now, as far as like the like as far as like all of our counterparts that are joining like the movement, I say that this movement has different energy. This feels different because it has white privilege attached to it now. So the white boys are going out there and they're exercising themselves unapologetically, as opposed to if it was only black folks, like the turn up would not be like that same thing. Now, I'm not condoning no violence. I'm not condoning anything like that. But this is two people at this negotiation. We're not even at the table for real, for real. We're under the table or at the foot of the table, and the others, you know what I'm saying, like our counterparts are sitting at the table. But now it's their children because they wasn't understanding us. You know what I'm saying? So like this is literally us at the table, negotiate, and somebody across the table keep bullshitting you. They're not taking you serious. When you get up at that table, you know what I'm saying? That's gonna stun them, and they're gonna listen. So right now, this is slapping of the table because it's the first time that America has been uncomfortable. America is uncomfortable. And why? Is because their kids are coming out and they coming through with the same enthusiasm they would have when they lose a hockey game, win whatever the hell, they come with that same unapologetic energy because they've decided that this is my thing and I don't want this anymore. And mom, this is what I want. So I'm slapping you to give me what I want. And they beating their own cousins and uncles up with skateboards and fucking whatever else. We didn't have that type of energy. We got black people already tired. You know what I'm saying? Like we've been marching. You know what I'm saying? Nothing has changed. But a lot of people are getting caught in saying the detractors. What are they detracting from? Cops are getting arrested for the bullshit. And then people are saying, oh, they're vandalizing. Yes, they are. But what's that going to do? That's going to create jobs for minorities. That's going to create jobs for people of color and socioeconomically disadvantaged. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to be the ones cleaning. They're going to be the ones painting. They're going to be the ones cleaning up everything. So we're going to get those jobs to rebuild the city. You know what I'm saying? So let them fuck those things up because it's going to make it inconvenient for somebody else. Well, you know what I'm saying? As long as no one dies.
All right, John, go ahead. John, go ahead.
Well, I mean, the one thing I part ways with you on when you was talking about the sitting at the table and making them understand. Yeah. These motherfuckers already understand. That's just the facts. They already understand. Then you got to also look at the time period we in right now with this whole corona and everybody being locked up. A lot of this, I think, with some of them, not all, is them just letting off a lot of steam and shit. You know what I mean? And again, like Marvel was saying earlier, they always try to co-opt our struggle. They do. It's a fact. You know what I'm saying? It's a fact. They always try to co-opt our struggle. You have to always, like I tell people all the time, these motherfuckers been showing us who they are for almost 500 years now. At some point, we got to believe them. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have some righteous white folks, you know what I mean, that's actually out there riding for us and shit. But you have to always, you know, look and say, hey, what's really going on? That's just my take.
No, I feel you. So like, if you would, okay, so like, what's your favorite sport team? What,
I would say probably the Bulls.
The Bulls, right? All right, so let's say 96 Bulls. Like, what happened in the third quarter, 5 minutes in? Like in game 5 of whatever, like, series? You don't know, right? But you know that they won the game.
Good.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, like, this is what I'm thinking everyone is doing, is worrying about. We need the end result. However we get there, by any means necessary, it's finally happening. We need the end result. You know what I'm saying? We need to, because everybody, like, we know that the Bulls won 6 championships. Do we know every single play that happened? No, we do not. Do we know? But we know they won, so we're trying to get the win. And I think whenever people start to talk about the detractors, now the looters, them motherfuckers, let them go to jail. They need to rubber bullet the hell out of them, whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? But some of those companies that they're doing, they're insured. Not to condone it, but it ain't no life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you also got to remember. You also got to remember this. These places.
Go ahead. Hold on. Go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
Places that are being looted and you know, pretty much destroyed right now. A lot of that is not from people who actually live in those communities. You know what I mean? And now they're calling in the military, National Guard. I just got an alert on my phone. Curfew starts in 20 minutes over here.
With that.
Now
I thought they lifted the curfew for tonight. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But I thought they lifted it for tonight.
No, not in New York. We have curfew 8 p.m.
Not New York.
We got one in Chicago.
And so what's going to happen is this. We're going to start to see a larger military or militarized police presence in our streets. And that's going to prevent a lot of people who actually live in these areas to be able to do anything, like including go get food if they're, you know, especially if their supermarket is like burnt down or whatever the case may be.
But they're not burning down like supermarkets. I like this is my argument, like, for like, they're burning down, like, they're burning down their communities. What communities? These segregation happened 50 years ago, right? So like, they're in downtown Minneapolis. They're in over there by us, like Soho and shit like that. That's not our neighborhoods.
They're not only in those areas.
Are you just talking Minneapolis
or the Bronx too?
Whatever city that, you know what I'm saying? Like even like in LA, like where they like looting and tear shit up. That shit is on Hollywood Boulevard. You know what I'm saying? Like near West Hollywood. That's where the money at. It ain't over in Compton. You know what I'm saying? Miami. You know what I'm saying? Like we just in the downtown. You know what I'm saying? Like that ain't over by Little Haiti. You know what I'm saying? So like they keep saying that we're destroying. How? You know what I'm saying? When I saw like the Target go down, what I thought was, oh, perfect. That means people are gonna have to go to the mom and pop stores that Target shut down, that might have had it in that area, and they drive all of those private owned entities away. So run Target ass out of there, and let's buy those plots and build and develop, put all our little real estate coins, and stop being selfish for self, and come together and make a development company and build some shit, and you could put your local people in there. You know what I'm saying? That's how I think about this shit.
Yeah,
Geisha, what do you? Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
I was going to say the same thing that's been blocking us.
Let them finish, because I'm like
be in place.
moving around. Sorry.
Okay.
You know, the same things that were being used against us to block us are still in place. So, you know, buying that plot, it's probably not going to happen, especially if those companies got insurance on it. You know, Target got insurance; they're good. They're going to be right back.
Of course, but I may say, like, what if like that Napa Auto Parts up the street, like the developer is like, man, fuck this, I'm not going to run this shit again. I'm going to put this plot up. Now, you know what I'm saying? Like, that would have to be some people consciously thinking about that. But I'm thinking about the long ball game. I'm not getting caught up in, like, you know what I'm saying, and like what the old lineman doing. Like what it is, everyone has their own play. I'm thinking about the long ball game. Like I said, shit's getting towed up. I can't even lie. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people taking it way too far. I think after the first couple days, it ain't had to be that deep. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, dog.
Okay. Hey, Matt, you got anything to add to this?
Well, I think that when it comes to thinking about the long game, I definitely understand that. But what I try to take a step back and look at when it comes to the protests or anything that's really gone on over the years is we have to be able to transform the energy into long-term action. And that usually means getting to a point where you're changing laws or the way that the power structure is designed. And so I think when we turn around and we look at the thing with white people in particular, you have to be careful about how you tread the line, because on the one hand, you have to be aware of the people that are out here throwing the dysfunction and who really aren't there. But there has to be an understanding that if we want to pass any laws or restructure the system, we need them to show up and vote for the same things that we're voting for. And so there's got to be a better way of being able to say, like, how do we convert this frustration and say to them, like, that's how you prove to us that you're really riding for us, is you show up and you vote for our causes. You elect leaders that believe in things that are going to help our people, not just protest. And so that's what I've been trying to figure out, is how do we get to that?
I don't think that is just going to be just like, I think like this, like a multi-pronged kind of thing. All right. So like this, like almost like a country trying to take over another country. First, you come in shock and awe, right? Shock and awe. You make the noise. You boom, 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 loud guns. Everybody boom, boom. And then once you make that, then they be like, all right, let's sit down and we can talk now, right? So this, I'm talking about the other side. But with the kids, with this type of, with this generation, what we have an advantage is now it's cool. It's very trendy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always trendy. Like on the back end, the people that sit there do the day-to-day work, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be a small amount of people, and then everyone else echoes and then jumps on like the cool cause. This is the first time that it's cool for the United States. Everyone, it's cool to like be out here.
Can I?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I don't really want to speak at the moment. I want to continue listening, but I want to listen to more people. So can we pass the mic?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. So Lamar, as you're about to mess up the moment, that's fine. Go ahead.
My bad, Ant, dog. You should like just say something to me, dog.
No, it's
just directly to me.
It's all good. It's all good. You want me to,
you know what I'm saying? Like, you had to go roundabout like I'm right here.
You want me to pass it on to somebody else, or you want to go?
Oh, you can pass it on.
Okay, good. Delia. Yes.
Hi, hello.
Yes. How you doing?
Doing some masks and stuff. So
okay. Yeah. So pretty much, right now we're on the topic of with the whole looting and with the I guess the alliance we have right now with the white people. So I wanted to get your intake on that, pretty much based off what everybody else has pretty much been saying.
So how do I feel about the alliance?
How do you feel about anything? Just talk. This is not just, this is a conversation. Like, you can say whatever you want. Like, it's all good.
Okay, I got a lot of shit to say. Anyway.
Go ahead, whatever it is.
With the allies, I'm actually pretty proud. Down here in Miami, I actually left work and I saw a small gathering, a small protest off of Wynwood, and it was majority either persons of color or white people. And there wasn't no black leader, so to speak. It was, they knew what was up. They knew there was a problem, and they knew they were going to do something about it. Whether people showed up in big numbers. They said, if we're going to block one lane of traffic, we'll block one lane of traffic. So on that note, when it comes to our allies, at least from my point of view, what's happening here, I'm actually very happy about it. Where my agitation comes in is just, and I think it's something we can't control, but then we can in a way, but it may take time, is just a portrayal that the media will show about what's really happening on the ground. Going to protesting, you'll see blacks, people of color, whites, which I would call them opportunists, doing what they want to do. Regardless if they come 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours after a protest, for some reason it's always going to be lumped in with the protesters. Protesters be ran over, they should be shot, they should be this. Protesters or opportunists or looters? Why do you think the protesters are doing this? No, there are people who don't care for anything other than, what can I get out of this? What can I do with this group of people? And then apparently people are getting paid off to steal, getting paid off to vandalize buildings with Black Lives Matter, and they're not even black.
Yep.
So it's like if we take a stance where we're going to do what we got to do regardless of what the media is going to do, there's always going to be difficulty. There's always going to be backlash. There's always going to be the all lives matter people. Also, people who come and agitate and infiltrate and instigate a gathering. And the thing is, as a person, you're not going to take shit. You're not going to be like, well, I'm going to be a peacemaker and stand here and kumbaya while you try to shoot at us. No, we're going to fight back. At least I know I would. And when it comes to cops, in Fort Lauderdale, I was there on Sunday. And for that cop to just feel like his ego was so much bigger than what the event was actually about, he had to toss that Black woman to the ground that was on her knees with her hands up. Was he that embarrassed that he didn't know what else to do than to use his anger to physically touch someone and throw them on the ground? What was the reason? So there's just so much to say, and you guys are on such a big topic. So y'all can stop me whenever you want to. My thing is, with the protesting, what are the next steps? Are we now going to our city halls? Are we going to our police stations? Do we want to create a system in which police officers have to go through quarterly reportings where we got to see what their behavior was like? If they had complaints, a certain amount of complaints per quarter gets you fired, period. Can we upgrade their schooling to, they need to have a bachelor's instead of just a high school diploma or a GED. We need to have intellectual people who have discernment, because apparently these cops lack discernment. Apparently
they have discernment. They just doing what the fuck they want to do.
But the media wants to portray, hey, let me shoot because I'm not sure what you got in your back pocket, even though you told me what you had in your back pocket.
That it's not about discernment. It's about what they want to do. That's the thing. I just have a question for you, and I'll let you rock. But like, do you think that the peaceful protest is the way, but you abhor the violence, or what? What's your take on that?
I don't believe that it needs to get to violence, but when push comes to shove, I'm not gonna let someone knock me down. Now, I'm not going to go, hey, I'm going to protest, but now let me vandalize this building. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to protest and peacefully protest, but don't push me and try to provoke me and then think I'm just going to sit there and do nothing. Now, it comes a point in time where I'm going to keep turning my other cheek, but then again, a person can only take so much.
Yeah,
I think
real quick, wait, my bad, John. Aisha, what are your thoughts on this?
It's funny because I kind of started out on her side. I don't remember her name. I'm a fairly peaceful person. I'm a believer, I'm a believer in Christ. So I try to be peaceful as much as I can. But one of the most disheartening things that I saw was they would hold our hands, they would march with us, they would pray with us, and then they would arrest us. They would demand that they deploy the tear gas. You know what I'm saying? So they're tear gassing us now. But these are the same people that are taking pictures and putting on the show for the media. I'm enraged. Like my blood pressure is going up as I'm speaking about it. I'm working from home today. I've been fighting the battle on my own. ZWF Miami, we've called them out. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with them, but it's a big organization here in Miami. They deal with wildlife, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's clout chasing. He posted, we stand with you guys, but his employees that we found, been spewing hatred at us all day, guys, all day, So I'm like, we address them, me and one of my friends, my good friends. And mind you, we're both Puerto Rican, African American, actually, both Christina. I don't know if you know her, Marvel, but we kind of went to him like, hey, this is what's going on. They're representing your company. Can you please address it? He tried to cover up for them, if you will. And that's what I've seen a lot. Like, oh, they're Hispanic, or oh, they're this, they're that. Dude, I am too. You know what I'm saying? And one of the comments I got back was, oh, you're a shade darker than me. Why do you care? Excuse me? And so that's the problem I'm having. I'm mad. I'm hurt. My father's a Black man. You know what I'm saying? My friends, I have plenty of friends that are Black men, Black women, so just to see that that's the perception that they have of us is, they're all coons, or they're all this and that. They're all, just to see that that's the perception they have of us, regardless of what we look like. It hurts. It hurts. Literally they were spewing hatred, and that's what I'm seeing on a daily basis. So it's really infuriated me. I tried to stay not neutral, if you will, but I tried to stay, peaceful. Like, hey, the looting is not necessary. And Marvel hasn't told you guys I own a salon of my own. So, of course, I called my insurance like, look, y'all, they down the street. I need to make sure I'm good. But I understand. You know what I'm saying? I understand. I understand why they're running around and burning shit. Now, Miami, I'm not from here. Miami, y'all got it light down here. Where I'm from, they going up right now. And I don't blame them. I don't fucking blame. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't blame them. Really? Because I've been in Target and have been, followed a little bit too closely because I was in the makeup section. You know what I'm saying? I've been to different places and different stores where I've gone in and received racism. And because I could, I bought everything up. But everybody doesn't have to react that way. We can be angry. We can be offended. The same organizations that we bought to the top don't recognize us. I work for 2 IT organizations as well. One said something, one didn't. And you bet I took note of it. I hold management positions that Black women have never touched in that industry. You understand what I'm saying? It's not to glorify me. It's to take all that hatred and turn it into something positive. But I posted earlier today, even though I do that and I try to set an example, I'm still not enough. Because if I would have went out there and protest, they don't give a damn what I'm doing to try to change the community. They see the color of my skin and I'm a problem immediately. That's the issue I have.
I think that's.
So I can't. I'm sorry, y'all. It's very emotional for me.
No, of course.
Yeah, because I try to be peaceful, but burn all this shit down.
I think one of one of the things that we have in common, not only just being a people of color, but also being in business. And for me, I think what really is I'm really torn right now is, and I put it on Twitter, is like being a Black man in America and also being a businessman in America too. And that line right there and that comparison, that parallel is becoming separated as much as possible. And, it really kind of makes you think, what is really, you know what I'm saying? Like, just because of your business, do you stay quiet? Just because of your business, do you just be in the background, or do you actually become in the forefront? Do you actually protest and all that? But if you do that, God forbid, if you get into the cops, you're going to get caught. You're going to get arrested. And then guess what? Everything that you pretty much been working for that whole entire time, all that is lost. So right. Being a Black business person in America right now is becoming the most torn shit to me right now. So
man.
Huh? Yeah, like, you feel me? Like,
yeah,
honestly, real talk, how I really feel right now is like, is it even worth it? Is it even worth it being a Black man, being a businessman in this country?
That's right.
Well, I mean, it absolutely is, because one of the things is, all right, you gotta go back into history, right? First thing I gotta put out there is, Black people, we were not freed, we were released. You know what I mean? So we still had all this oppression, for years and years and years after 1865 up till now. And it comes to a thing where it's multifaceted, right? So you have different things. There's policies and all the political stuff that go against us. There's the financial issue, you know what I mean? So being a Black businessman or businesswoman is more important than anything else right now. Because put it this way, voting won't work unless we have money to buy our politicians. Because that's what happens every year. Politicians get bought, right? Like, all those donors, they're writing those big checks, they buy politicians, right? Lobbyists and the whole nine. And if we're not able to buy our own politician, then it's not gonna happen for us. So all that voting stuff.
So should we be allowed to buy them to be?
Well, that's what happens anyway.
I know that's what happens anyway. What I'm saying is that, like, I'm asking you, like, should that be eradicated and be dismissed by being?
I mean, in a perfect world, it would be, but we don't live there. So, I mean, we have to deal with what we have, and what we have is a world where you can buy politicians. And if you want to get up, if you want to get what you want established, policies, whatever the case may be, you have to have money. You have to buy them. You have to have them in your pocket. This is one of the oldest ways to get things done. All other races have done it, and that's the way it works. I mean, simple and plain. My question would be is, if this rioting, this looting, whatever the case may be, this protesting, it lasts 6 months, it lasts a year, what happens after that? What comes about after that? Because this doesn't necessarily change. This, if people think this is a rebellion, because we have all different words when it comes to this: looting, protesting, rioting, rebellion, whatever the case may be. But if this is truly a rebellion, what comes after this? Because generally when you have a rebellion, you're trying to topple a regime.
Well,
and we're not going to topple this regime and establish our own regime. Then what do we do next? How do we go?
What's the whole purpose of all this, right?
I think at some point we have to establish some sort of a nationwide platform that makes clear what exactly we're trying to accomplish for our people. Because right now, what I see when we have the protests and things is that continuous cycle of there's a lot of energy and then it dies out and people feel disappointed because it's like, well, how many times am I going to get angry? How many times are we going to shed blood and nothing happens? But the problem is we're not moving into the strategy portion of that. Like if we had some sort of platform to be able to trust and say, we know across the country we could vote down the ballot this way because this group of people supports our agenda, then we could actually make progress. But I think that's the thing, is there is no unified agenda. Like, yeah, we're fighting things like police brutality, but to make a platform to change laws, it's got to be bigger than that. You've got to like really be looking at everything that's happening, and especially to that point about the economics of it. We definitely have to increase Black wealth in America to be able to influence this. And so my thing to any Black business owners that are like feeling torn would be like, you shouldn't worry about tearing down your business or say, is it worth it? But actually assist in the process of continuing to scale Black business until it gets to the point where the money is influential in the community.
I think you
go
ahead.
I want to give the floor to anybody who has not spoken yet. So Linda, Geisha, Warren, Justine.
Yeah. So I caught the end of that last thing that you mentioned. I believe it was Andrew. So right now I'm the field director for a candidate that's running for office, and hopefully if we win, I can serve as a legislative aid where we can draft and propose legislation that focuses on things such as reparations. But what we need to be having is a real conversation around what reparations really means. We should be talking about not just because it's, see, the problem is that we have a lot of candidates, specifically white candidates and white progressive candidates, who are just saying that to get Black people to come out and vote for them. They're saying shit like, oh, I support reparations, but then they're not really going to do anything about it. And it needs to obviously go beyond the idea of we're just going to cut people a check based on 300 years worth of oppression and slavery. It doesn't work that way. And so when we talk about reparations, we should be talking about criminal justice reform. We should be talking about decriminalizing marijuana and thereby expunging records. We should be talking about a pathway to getting folks to get loan approvals for small businesses without predatory lending interest rates. We should be talking about investing in low-income communities, low-income Black communities for their education. We should be talking about so many different infrastructures and startup programs and vocational programs. So when we talk about things such as reparations, we should be talking about a full-scale, comprehensive plan to improve all aspects of social life for Black Americans in the country in every single stretch of the imagination. I will say, just speaking on the issue itself, I was protesting back in 2012 when I was an undergrad, when Mike Brown was shot and killed in cold blood and Trayvon Martin were killed in cold blood, and I became enraged and ostracized by my friends and family because of the fact that thing is that the racial consciousness about this issue is something that is finally being brought to the light. When I was doing this as a college student, a lot of my friends and family thought I was crazy, and they also thought, like, why do you care? You're not Black. And I'm like, don't you see the problem with that statement, that you shouldn't care if you're not Black? So it's just one of those things where I'm looking at friends and family, even down to my siblings who are teens, 16 years old, talking about these issues, posting about it, being vocal about it on social media. Definitely, this is not something that is going to be pushed to the side anymore. The conversation of criminal justice reform and these things are not going to go away at all. But we do need to be careful about who are the ones that are showing up. I don't believe that every person that's out there protesting is an ally. Of course, we already know that there are some people that are undercover doing some crazy shit. The fact that bricks are just showing up in these mega cities for people to instigate and to create havoc, and then having people breaking shit to stir up emotional outrage. When the Minneapolis killing of George Floyd happened, and the first video that I saw, which was of people throwing stones at a cop car, I was like, good shit, good. That they deserve that. When I see that they're trying to burn down fucking police precincts and all that, I'm like, solid. Let's go. What else? Strategic. Let's be strategic about what we're gonna do and where we're gonna do it. If it weren't for all of that rioting, they would have not come to such swift justice for this incarcerating this police officer. But
should have went to the police officer first.
It's not gonna stop until they get the other three. And then there needs to be reform. And then there needs to be action and follow through. But in the meantime, let's make sure we also hold those factions accountable that are showing up on some bullshit. And I don't believe that is by any means necessary when it's in that regard, because they're not there for us. They're not there for y'all. They're not there for the movement.
Well,
I didn't know if Warren wanted to bring anything up.
Well, no, I don't want to cut anyone else off that wanted to respond.
Yeah, any response? Sorry about that.
Well, I was just gonna say that now you're seeing, the pendulum start to swing the other way. You're starting to see a lot of people who want to help the police. They're in the streets now, like in Philadelphia, they're running around with bats, like a whole bunch of white people running around with bats. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna see that pushback now. And I think that's obviously from the agent provocateurs that's been starting the problems. They've been breaking the windows. You'll see a lot of this on Twitter. People will chase down those who are like breaking windows and things of that nature, starting it up. And these people just don't want to be seen. They're like in all black hoodies. It's usually a white guy, or a white guy paying somebody to go break stuff, or you know what I mean? So we're seeing people infiltrate and mess with this movement, so then it starts to lose its luster when you know that the violence and the problems being caused are not from us. You know what I mean? So now they elicit the police response, and the police, Trump is saying when the shooting, the looting starts, the shooting starts. He wants to dominate the protesters. And now you got people out in the streets thinking they're helping Trump and the police by beating up on black people. You know what I mean? So we're getting the blame for all of this no matter what, right? Like, regardless of who's doing it, no matter how many people they have on camera, no matter who's paying to have these bricks put in these cities, black people are going to get the blame for it, right? So we need to figure out how to remove ourselves from these protests right now. And I say that because it's not ours anymore. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for it, because there's an old Caribbean proverb, if you don't hear, you must feel, right? So now we tried everything. They tell us we can't protest like that. Oh, we take a knee. Oh, do that on your own time. You know what I mean? And so now it's like at a point where it bubbles up and it boils over, the pot boils over, and now it's a mess everywhere. But I'm so not angry at burning stuff down. I can't state that enough. But when it's the wrong people burning stuff down for the wrong reasons, then now we have a problem. So I think going forward, voting, I'm not too confident in that, just because black people have been voting for 100 years now, and we still haven't gotten anywhere. We even had Obama in office, and during his time, how many hashtags came out then? If you remember, it was just tons and tons of hashtags. And I think, one thing that Anthony said that I do take issue with a lot is whenever people talk about Black issues, they always bring up like criminal justice reform. You know, because yes, that's one aspect of it, but usually in politics, they try to make that the only aspect of Black issues, right? It's like criminal justice reform,
and it makes Blacks synonymous with crime. You know what I mean? It's like it's so subtle. It's helping, yes, but the majority of Black people, we don't go to jail. That the vast majority don't go to jail. You know what I mean? And when you do that, it's kind of like making it, you know, you think of Black, you think of crime. You think of Black, you think of crime. And yeah, it's important. This should be part of it. I mean, just real quick, doubling back to what y'all was saying about, you know, getting the money together so you can buy the candidates. The problem is the way the system is set up, somebody's going to outbid your ass. That's just the way it is. I think the only thing that would really work is if you break this system down. If you think about it, if it was the party that all minorities belong to, that would take over everything.
Well,
it would take over everything. If it was a party where, you know what I'm saying, the Black, the brown, the Asian, whatever, came together, we would outnumber them with the vote. Then the voting would really fucking matter. You know what I'm saying? That's
how we outvote them? Exactly.
I have to jump in, and I'm sorry, but I have to disagree with that. I don't think that any political party holds a monolith on what serves the best interest of minorities, people of color, Black people. And we see that with the Democratic Party, which a lot of people in the Democratic Party, Democratic leaders, you have people who are put in positions of power as a token. You know, like our current representative.
That's the point I'm making. If it was just us, you know, we would all have more of a vested interest. Because regardless of whom or what, we'll never, like, as long as we keep the system the way it is, it's going to still be white dominated. And they're going to always look out for their interests. And they're going to always, and guess what? We're going to always have coons and shit in and out that's going, you know what I'm saying, it's going to help break shit up and all of that. If we keep it the way it is. But if we was to all get together, we would outnumber them.
I mean,
you know
here's
what I mean?
The larger question. I'm not sure that it's a matter of outnumbering. I think the question is, what is it that we as a collective, and I'm not just talking about Black folks or minorities and Asians coming together, but as collectives, as Americans, what vision do we have for the future? What are we trying to create, and what are we trying to tear down, and from that recreate? Because
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I can tell you right now that the white people want to stay on top. There's never been anybody in power that just said, "Oh, fuck it, I'm tired of running shit right now. Why don't y'all have a shot at it?"
But that's a real.
I mean, that's just the way it is. They're gonna always try to maneuver it where they are the ones that's in power. And as long as they are the one that's in power, shit's not going to fucking change.
But I think to that point is why, like, to go back to the criminal justice reform piece, I understand that becomes a sensitive topic, and people always say, like, why do we start with that? But it goes deeper than the criminality of Black people. When you look at the need for criminal justice reform, it's linked to the 13th Amendment. Like, we have to understand that the criminal justice system was the instrument that people used to essentially pick up right after slavery through policy, and it's continued to be that way. There's a direct link with the way that the system is structured now and slavery, and that's why it's written into that 13th Amendment. And so when we look at the system, you have to realize that changing the criminal justice system is more about just saying, like, on its face, well, we think Black people are criminals, is more so about saying we need to remove the system of maintenance and control that was put in place post-slavery that has now been weaponized against Black people over the generations.
Well,
but they've had.
It wasn't weaponized. It wasn't weaponized. It was created for that, like you said, with the the 13th Amendment. Like, it literally slavery. You know what I mean? And right now you'll always hear the term school to prison pipeline and things of that nature. But what it really comes down to at the end of the day is economics. If you deprive an area of resources and money and things of that nature, but then you also, pump the drugs and the guns in there, what's going to happen? You're going to get criminals. So by saying, you're going to address how criminals are treated, or, the disparity between, or having more Black people getting incarcerated and convicted of crimes and getting more time. All that's cool. I'm not saying we don't need that, but you need to address the core issues of these communities before you even get there, because that's where, criminals come into play once
that's what
have no resources.
But that's why we need a larger platform, because you have to be able to hit all these things at once. Because it's like, if you start talking about the economics, you can't talk about that without the education. And it's like, that's why there has to just be a larger platform to say, where do we actually see this going? Because I feel like all the, aggression out there, even with me being half white and looking at some of my family, like, I feel like this needs to be like, no, fuck it. Like, I don't want the help of my white family in this case. I don't want to hear like what they have to say about this. But on the other hand, I understand that if we actually want to move the needle, there has to be a large scale platform that looks at it and says, on a fundamental level, if you're a poor American or you're American who's in an under-resourced community, what resources are out there for you to be able to elevate and protect yourself? And like, that's the discussion I don't think is really being had, is just to say, like, across the board, how do we remove people out of being in this position in the first place? It's all about like, well, this is what we want as a reaction to this, but our schools aren't getting better. Like, they're getting gentrified. People are getting kicked out and moved, but in terms of maintaining the population, our schools and communities aren't getting better. It's actually getting worse, because as you gentrify these cities, people are getting more densely packed into more dangerous areas.
They get packed like sardines.
Well, not just that though. When you start gentrifying an area, people get dispersed. They start moving to different places. You know what I mean? So now, once you start getting all the minority people out, all the Black people out, their voting power goes down in that area. So it kind of goes hand in hand with gerrymandering, with and changing the voting districts. But no, I get exactly what you're saying. All of it has to be hit at once. The platform that we have, we don't really technically have one.
Platform, but maybe we can create one.
Yeah. I love to. And I like that. I like that Diddy is trying to do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I do notice that with what he's trying to do, and we just need more of that. But we also need, like Anthony was saying, we need to be more in the political process. And that comes from getting our money up. Like it does come down to that, because when you one thing I've noticed about the Black community, right, is that a lot of the times we tend to coerce our children into being employees and not employers, right? So what happens then is we're not really creating, Black wealth. We might be able to make money ourselves if we were able to move up in, whatever industry we're in, but we're not creating jobs for more of us. So that's where I think entrepreneurship and economics come into play, because that's at the basis of everything is about money. Like even slavery was about money. It wasn't about racism.
But do you also think within our community that we're having too many chiefs and not enough Indians?
No, I don't believe that, because if you even look at 99 years ago, yesterday and today was the bombing and the massacre at Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? So when you look at how that city was set up, there was nothing but Black entrepreneurs there. Everything was Black owned. The movie theaters, the pharmacy, they had schools, the church, everything was Black owned. And obviously what happened. They came in, they dropped dynamite out the planes with the sheriffs, and they shot everybody.
That's everything. Yeah. So listen, real quick. I want to open the floor real quick for anybody who has not spoken. Justine.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing? You want to go ahead?
I'm really just listening, honestly.
Do you have anything to say, or do you want me to move on?
You can move on.
Okay. Linda. Pay attention, girl.
My fault.
It's all good. I'm opening the floor for people who have not spoken. So,
okay.
If you want to say anything, you want to add anything, go ahead.
I just wanted to add to Matt. He had touched on a lot of points, and other people touched on a lot of points when it comes to the resources in the Black community, and just we're just really they've created an economy or society for Black people to stay behind. And when I was in undergrad, I read a book about it was a talk that they gave. It was race-centered criminal justice system. That was actually a class that I took, and it basically stated how the criminal justice system started. It was all about population control. When white people started seeing Asians come in, when they started seeing Mexicans come in, when they started seeing the population of Black people increase, they felt like their superiority, their majority was threatened. And so what they did was created this system and created these labels of Asians, opioids, Mexicans, weed, Black people, crack, they're violent, they're aggressive. And from the start of, the industrialized USA, they created the system in order to keep their superiority untouched and unthreatened and keep everybody else in chains, stopping agents from coming into the US, only allowing a certain number of people in, type of thing. And when I'm seeing that this is just a conditioned system that they put together, and they just condition it in the minds of generations of officers and sheriffs and whoever works for the criminal justice system, it's just a conditioned system that's been going on for decades. And the thing is, how do we break that conditioned system? How this powerful system that was created to control populations? And this is how I see this movement, this response to this movement is they're gaining too much power, or they understand too much. How can we control them, control their thoughts, control the narrative of this movement and make it look like their fault, so then we can still control their population. We can throw more people in jail. We can kill them. We can do whatever it takes. And what we're going to do is send agents out there to make sure that we can thwart the good of the movement and make it a bad movement type of thing. And so I'm just wondering how we can dismantle that, how we can break down that foundation in the minds of these people who work in this system, whether it's the corrections and all of that. But that's all I gotta say.
Geisha, you want to go ahead?
You don't have to. I'm really bad at public speaking. I'm really bad at public speaking.
It's up to the person to
I'd rather
have
everybody else go
self-fortitude
ahead.
to break that.
This is a kickback. This ain't the public.
Jason, you kind of like echoing.
Yeah, I'm working right now at a church, so I can't really hear that well.
Okay. So, Jason, you want to go ahead, or you want to skip?
I'd like to be skipped for now.
Okay, I got you. Warren.
What's up, Marvel?
Is anything you want to add? Anything you want to say? Because I know you said you wanted to, listen more and learn more than anything. But is anything you want to put out there?
Well, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's pretty much right. I mean, I love listening to Tony's passion, and I really enjoy listening to the perspectives of everybody else here. It's kind of hard, right? I mean, like I was telling Tony, and it's not something that it's hard for me to identify. It's impossible for me to identify. For the guys on here, the other example I use is we'll never know what it's like to give birth, that's how it is for me. I can't identify, right? I don't know. What can I do, right? What can I do is listen and try to get the perspective of other people and hear people's stories and hear people's ideas. And, I think if there's more folks like me, who, I talk to all different types of people. I have friends in all different types of communities. I have friends that look like me, and I have friends that don't look like me. I wish I saw more people that look like me involved in discussions like this. I will say that. I don't think there's enough of that. And, I guess it takes one or two people to start and be proactive about that, and then maybe we'll start to see some more positive stuff. But other than that, man, I want to take this opportunity to hear what people had to say. And I definitely think I learned a lot. That's what I would like to add.
So, okay, appreciate that. So, I want to ask this question. This question might go all over the place. So, we talk about, white allies and people pretty much, for us. Do we need them?
Do you want them?
That's a good question. That's the. Hey, I appreciate you asking. As a white man, I appreciate that.
Hey,
all right, let's go. Who wants to go? I see. Now everybody's up. Now everybody's up.
Let me say this.
All right. Real quick. Okay, go ahead. Wait. Stop. We've been doing fantastic. Hold on. We've been doing fantastic. All right. Warren, go ahead. Say what you gotta say first, and then I'll go ahead. Linda, I got you. Don't worry. I got you.
I mean, do you need allies? Do you want allies? Like, all I can control is myself. I'm gonna go about my day living my life. I'm gonna go about my day interacting with people, and I just try to. The way I was raised was to treat people with respect, and I can only say that it's served me pretty well through 30 years of my life, and I'm gonna keep doing that. And you know, if I can do that one little bit to help someone, I'm gonna try to do that. That's just who I am. If you want people to support people like me, it's up to you. You know, it's not up to me. That's all I'd say.
Okay, Linda, go ahead.
Okay, when it comes to allies, when we see the impact of white people protesting, things get answered rather quickly. As you can see with the COVID thing, people wanting to get tattoos and get their hair dyed because for some reason they can't dye their hair at home. You see that when white people want something, they get it. But also it's a system created for white people, so I get that. But if we have allies that are white that care about us, that have money and can make some damage monetarily for some of these corporations and big people in government, then yes, I do think we need it. But I'm not going to praise somebody. I'm not going to praise a fish for swimming. If you're protesting, good, because you're supposed to do it, because we're all human.
Right.
What I need you to do is use your power as a white person, especially if you have money, especially if you have influences, especially if you know people and you got connects, use that power to make a difference. Because I'm not going to praise you for doing what you're supposed to do, like protesting, for taking a knee, for holding your colleagues accountable. Why should I do that? That's basic human, accountability. We're our brother and sister keepers.
But according to them,
that's the bare minimum.
According to them, is it though? Like according to them, though, I'm talking about.
Clearly, no. We would think.
Yeah.
No.
So that's why we're here.
I think.
And so my thing is with what he said. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but with what he said, it almost made me think like, damn, do I want that type of help? Because it almost felt like, oh, do you want my help? Like, do you want our help? Like, we really don't, to be honest, we're kings and queens. We don't need anybody's help, if you want me to be honest. But, and I'm not like a pro-black, whatever, I'm not even one of those people, but for real, we don't need nobody's help. And I feel like every time we do reach out for help, it's thrown in our face because we try to, gain or, create that relationship with people outside of our race. And like I said, I'm multiracial as well, but I don't want a pity party. I want some change for real, and I don't want to have to beg for it. Is he still?
I don't know if he's still on there or not. I just wanted to ask him a question to see if he was going to be honest.
Yeah, just even the tone was just like, see, that's why.
No, I ain't even coming at him crazy. I want to ask him something. Is he back on?
No, you gotta talk to Anthony. I don't know. You gotta talk to the boy Anthony.
Yeah. Sorry, it's just we've got like a lot of company and everything.
Okay. Is your friend there?
As a non-black person, right? I mean, I can't speak for Warren as a Caucasian man, but as a non-black person, is there anything you'd like to ask me that I can also address? Maybe I can speak on.
I wanted to ask him a question, like, and see if he was going to ask, honestly. Yeah. Like, I know this is not even any castigation toward him, but what do most white people really feel about us?
Right.
What is what? I'm sorry.
Honestly, I mean, just to be honest, this is not me trying to jump on him or nothing. But most white people, how do they really feel about black people in America? He ain't got to name no names. Got to throw nobody under the bus. Does he think that the majority rock with us or not? Because I would say that the majority probably don't. I mean, just the fact that Trump got into office with all the Bush, I've never seen a candidate. Barack wouldn't have been if he was doing all the shit he was doing. But even Bush, any of them, I've never seen a white candidate behave like that, ever.
But
I think that's a little bit disingenuous to some degree, though.
It was
I agree with you, Amar. That's a little bit blanket.
Okay, all right, wait, hold up. Time out. Jason, go ahead.
I think that's a blanket statement to say that most of them don't rock with us, since we don't know most of the white people in America.
And that's what I'm trying to ask.
I mean, in the same way that you can't ask a black person to speak on behalf of all black people, you can't ask a white person to speak on behalf of all white people.
So why do they always
but I can tell you realistically how we probably feel about white people, though. I could tell. You know what I'm saying? If I was going to be honest,
I would say,
speak for the whole.
Exactly. I would say it's
wrong. Well, hold on.
That's not what I'm saying.
I gotta say this, right? You know, we're not supposed to generalize and speak for the whole and all of that. But why do they always ask where our black leaders are whenever we're protesting? You know, like they always point to like, where are your leaders?
Keyword, Andrew. Keyword. You're saying, why do they, as if all white people are saying that? It's a very specific group. And here's the problem. The main problem is that we hear someone say something and we sensationalize it. The people who say, where are your black leaders? Fuck them.
It's media. I
don't care what your opinion is. I don't have to hear what what about the fact that we had a black president? Racism should be, fuck you. I don't care what you have to say. End of conversation. Next.
So quick question. So based off of that, so do you think based off that, Anthony, you think that we give them way too much power on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we fall for the little shit. We get into fights over the little shit. And if we can manage to keep our eye on the ball and keep our eyes on the prize, we're able to fight for the things that we're fighting for. Stop wasting your energy arguing with people on Facebook and Twitter who aren't worth your energy. Fuck them. They're stupid. You're never going to convince them. Never. You're never going to convince them.
I agree with you to a certain extent, but I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I have friends that, specifically two white girls that I work out with every morning, actually. And they're from small towns up in like Pennsylvania, Colorado, stuff like that. And we had a conversation. Race never comes up. We were raised that way, Well, actually, Gina wasn't. But, Gina spoke freely. And I said, hey, Gina, how does your family, I know you date black men, but how do they feel about that? How do they feel about that in general? I literally had this conversation 2 days ago. And she looked at me with tears in her eyes. And she said, they hate me for it. And she said, the majority where I'm from are racist and they're Trump supporters. I've had people reach out to me during all this and say, how can you side with them? You understand what I'm saying? So I love where you're coming from. However, I have to respectfully disagree and just put it out there. The majority don't fuck with us. And that's what I work with them every day. I'm touching them from every realm,
Yeah.
So,
well, the thing is, making that statement, the majority don't fuck with us, it can mean so many things. Like
in any way.
Well, but I have to respectfully disagree. I think the majority don't understand. The majority hold on. Let me just finish my statement. The majority don't understand. The majority are not in close proximity to. The majority can talk about black people, but they don't have black friends. They don't have black neighbors. All they do is just watch what's on TV and see what's on the news, and they make an assessment on an entire.
Please don't forget. I'm sorry to interrupt. Please don't forget everyone's upbringing as well. Everyone's upbringing as well has a lot to do with that.
That's right. That's right, sweetie. That's right.
Of course.
I couldn't bring home dark complexion friends because I would get my ass beat by my grandpa.
That's right.
He was racist.
There you go.
So
of course.
Internally does start with your upbringing.
When I was in West Virginia, right, I spent some time out there, and it was crazy just coming from New York, where I was at. It was a pretty diverse place. It was a lot of white, it was a lot of black, it was a lot of Spanish people. And then when I went out there, it was, obviously all white, right? And the amount of times I've heard, you're the first black person I've ever met, that blew my mind. And it goes back to what you were saying, Ant, and also to what I was saying too, like how we get portrayed, in the media and all that. That's what they think of us. If they have no interaction with anybody who is black, that's what you think. You're gonna listen to the rap music. You're gonna see what's on the news. We're violent, we're criminals, all that good stuff. So it's.
But that brings up.
Look at the history books, y'all. Like, I don't judge all white people based off of what they did to us.
Well,
Matthew, go ahead, Matthew.
No, I was going to say that I think this brings up an important conversation that we need to have as people of color with the idea, like, there's a difference between prejudice and racism. When you talk about prejudice, you're literally talking about prejudging a group of people because that you don't have experience with or actual facts to support your feelings, where this is just something you have. When you talk about racism, you're talking about someone who is directly and intentionally supporting a system of prejudice against black people. So you may meet a white person who prejudges you because of what they grew up understanding through the media, what they've been told, etc., who might turn around and be like, you know what, I made friends with this person. They weren't that bad. This black person was nothing like I've heard. That person is not a racist. A racist is the person who starts out with that prejudice, meets you, and is still like, fuck them, my people are better than them, and this is what we're going to do to hold them down.
But just to what you were saying, it's a choice thing. Like, I don't hang around a lot of white folks, you know what I mean? But guess what? You know, just like how when they were saying why the police may do us this way, they may think we aggressive, blah, 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 blah. But I could tell a meth head ass white motherfucker. I could tell a trailer park white dude from just, you know what I'm saying, a quote unquote upper crust white dude, a regular white dude, Irish from you know what I'm saying, from Lithuanian or whatever like that. If I could see that and, you know, and just not even, you know, okay, I see this person, this, I could tell, if I see a certain type of motherfucker, I could tell, like, okay, he might be on some bullshit. And it's, you know what I mean? But if I could differentiate that, it's the problem is they choose not to differentiate us.
That's right.
That's the fucking problem. And they like to lump us all in one because it helps them keep their, you know what I'm saying, that superiority, that era of superiority. You get what I'm saying?
That's right. They don't try to understand us. You're telling me that we have to go and prove ourselves to them in hopes of them trying to understand us. We've been here for long enough for y'all to understand us. That's not a good excuse. That's right. You took us from where we from. You should have tried to understand us back then. You know? So
it's not about trying to understand, though.
I can respect where you came from when you said prejudice and when you said, you know, racist. I understand where you're coming from, but I'm really tired of us giving people passes because, like I said, we can go look at what we're taught in school. We can go look at what we're taught in school, what everyone is taught in school about the blood that was shed in this country and many others. And it came from people that were white. We could prejudge them. We should really be the one, you know what I'm saying? According to history, we should be the ones looking at them like they thugs and whatever it may be.
But there is a reality.
I'm speaking some real shit.
But there is a reality. There is a reality depending on where you're from, though, where that's the thing. Like, I totally get what you're saying, and it's not about proving anything, but even what was just said about the whole idea that we can take a look at, like, the demographics of a white group of people and decide, like, what they're about politically is false. Because, like, I grew up, no, but I'm saying, like, I grew up in North Carolina, and a lot of the times for me, if I drove outside of Charlotte, being in the city, and went anywhere into the country, it was places that I didn't even feel comfortable stopping to get gas. But after a certain amount of time doing that, I realized that not every person that looked like a redneck, not every person that looked like they had family that might be in the Klan or something actually had a problem with black people. They looked that way because they lived in those areas, and maybe the way they looked was typical of the environment that they grew up in. But I'd be lying to you if I'd say growing up in North and South Carolina, every white person that looked like some racist redneck was actually a racist. A lot of the times I saw these people in those areas actually like fighting against these things because they felt like they had some commonality being poor. And so it's not about giving the pass. Like, I totally understand, like, we shouldn't have to prove anything to anyone. But what I'm saying is that if someone comes forward and says, you know what, I'm trying to do this, it's not about giving them a pass, it's giving them the opportunity to at least try to understand. If, to the point of the people in West Virginia, you've never seen a black person in your life in person, what you're supposed to do with that? Just like if you've never seen a white person, which is difficult, it's tough.
What about the little boys that came out of Atlanta? They ain't never left Atlanta, but they went to school and made something of themselves, and they go out and they have to be in white America and they learn how to adjust. I'm trying to understand. You know, I think I've been to all the states at this point, every state in this country, and I've been some places that I'm really fucking scared. And you're right, they've never seen a black person. They're like, damn, what is she doing here? You know, Why do we get to give them an excuse? I know how to act around them. You understand what I'm saying? Like, why can't they?
There's
learn
a difference.
No,
hold on. That's not what I'm saying. There's a difference. Like, you have to know how to act, period. Like, I'm not saying that we should allow them to get away with that. What I'm saying is, to your point about the black boys growing up in Atlanta, is that when they go into that corporate office, they're going in there with ideas already on how the white people they're going to treat them. And 99% of the time, they're right. But if they run into a white person in that office that isn't racist, who legitimately is trying to help them get ahead, etc., that might influence a little bit of their view on white people and be like, you know what? Every white person I met before you was bad, but you're all right. And it's the same thing I'm saying just happens in reverse, where I'm not saying they need to get a pass and should be allowed to be disrespectful because they don't have the experience. If you don't have the experience, you should keep your mouth shut until you can make the right decision. But my thing is that we should not just look at them and say, for example, this is an easier way to explain it. Say someone from West Virginia moves into your community and you know straight up they're from West Virginia, they never met black people. You might think like, yo, this is about to be some shit. Like, I bet you this person is racist as fuck. And all I'm saying is in that case, you got to wait till they come outside and talk to you or show themselves and be disrespectful before you make that determination.
Well, yeah, you know, like...
My bad. Delia, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm listening. I ain't really got much to say.
Sorry, I saw your hand up. That's why I thought,
immediately popped into my head was what kind of rock you got to live under to not know how to act around black people if they
come
never
on.
Black person. It's like, oh yeah, I never met people before, but
you gotta remember,
blah, blah, blah. Just act polite. I'm confused. Like, yeah, I might hear this white man from West Virginia is coming through, but I'm not gonna say, man, he's racist. That's honestly not the first thing that comes to my mind. So why do we give? I feel like a lot of black people give white people a pass when it comes to, well, I've never met you, so you let them pass with all this ignorant shit that they say.
Right.
So it's just like, what rock are they living under that? Oh, I've never met a black person.
Well, it's not,
let me say ignorant shit to see what
you intimidate them.
I got two things to say about that, right? It's not only white people that haven't met black people before, you know, because
come on.
Like I said, I'm from New York, right? And you know how many times I've heard, oh, wow, you speak so well.
You're so educated. Oh my God.
Oh my God. That is infuriating. You know what I mean? But to go back to like the whole point of, you know, meeting white people that's never met black people before, you know, two things about that. One, every time I'm out in these places and I meet these people, you know, obviously I'm trying to show them that, you know, black people are not what they show on TV. You know what I mean? We're not all thugs. We're not all criminals. We're not all deadbeats.
I don't think you got to show them that, though. Don't try to actually show people that you're a different black guy that they've seen. Just be you, and then them being mature enough, smart enough, honest enough, be like, yo, why am I judging people based off the media? Let me just take who they are. That's annoying to me. Let me show them.
I want to go back to that point, though. That's smart enough thing.
Hold on. I gotta say this. What that comes to, though, is we have to remember one fundamental thing about white America, right? They have been being raised generation after generation after generation as the winners, as the number one, right?
Yes.
In all the history books, they learn that they find places that have already been found. You know, they rewrite history. They do all of this stuff. And at all times, they are always the victor. You know what I mean? And the victims, those don't matter. You know, like think about African American studies and all that. That's an elective in college. You got to pay for that. You're not taught that in school. You know, they only talk about African Americans in February, you know, once a year. And after that, it's right back into the same old two-step of
business as usual.
Hey, Zudi, damn all of that. You know what's the biggest piece of evidence?
Zudi is Andrew, by the way. Zudi's Andrew. You have to be specific.
Oh, okay.
You can read his name.
You know what the
you can read his name on it.
Is old boy ran as soon as we start talking about the shit because he not here no more. You get what I'm saying? Like they always.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna let you do that. I don't think so. Nah, like you think like nah, dog. I don't know. That's loaded.
That's real convenient. I'm just saying, like it's real convenient. You know what I mean?
They had a party too. They got people over too.
I've seen
that. He had people over. He had. You know, but Okay,
I'm
continue.
not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen it happen many times when when race starts being talked about. Like I said, I have a lot of interracial couples, even in my own family, right? And when certain issues start to arise, people start to fade.
Oh wait, hold on.
But did he not know this conversation?
Hold that thought.
You know what I mean?
And ladies,
Hit us with the
hold that
visual.
thought. There we go. All right, continue. My bad.
But what I wanted to say is that the whole thing she was talking about, they got to be smart enough, things like that. America is not intelligent as a whole. There's a lot of stupid people in the world. If you don't believe me, you step out the door. But a lot of that is to do with education. I think a lot of this is there's an attack. There's a war on education. There's a war on understanding. There's a war on not knowing stuff, but yet going out and trying to find said information. All the knowledge that we've talked about here when it comes to history, things of that nature, victory, so on and so forth, what white people have done, the history of this country, all of that is in print. Available at every library. You can always find it. But the question is, do you choose to? And they don't choose to because we're winning or they're winning. Why do I need to know what happened in the past? Why do I need to know why these people feel the certain way that they do when I'm winning? I can go anywhere in this country. I'm always accepted. If I'm not accepted, guess what? The police will help me out. It's broad like that. So you can, I mean, all that stuff is true. You know what I'm saying? They should know how to talk to us, this, that, and the third. But people don't have humanity either. People don't know how people's fears a lot of times get the best of them. Their prejudices get the best of them. And so when that happens, that's when you have trouble. That's when you have trouble when people are trying to say, hey, why can't I talk to them? Why can't I act like, why do I step on a motherfucker's neck? Or why don't I treat this person with a certain level of respect? Dude at my job had an inmate, I'm a peace officer, by the way. He had an inmate in cuffs and then outside and was decided to choke him while he was in cuffs. Why do that? What's the purpose of that? Like, you know we have cameras and you know that you're not supposed to do that. That's intelligence. Why? You know what I'm saying? Because people are stupid. People choose to not actually think things through, and a lot of it is lack of education. A lot of it is lack of common sense, a lack of humanity. I mean, the list goes on and on. Apathy.
And I think that what goes on with that is like the question doesn't come down to like what group of people needs another group of people to succeed. It comes down to like any group of people needs numbers to get anything done in this country. And so I think like the day that we step back and say like, no, we can't meet in the middle somewhere, even though it's painful. Like if y'all seen Dave Chappelle talk about South Africa, one of his Netflix stand-ups, he talks about how like after apartheid, one of the hardest things they had to deal with was reconciliation, because all the black people that had been killed and mistreated and drugged through the streets were pretty much told, now you got to shake hands and find a way to move on, and you're never going to get your retribution, but this is going to build a more whole society.
But was that the right thing, though? But wasn't that the right thing? Because even after apartheid, they still was over there fucking around with people.
Yo, no, there's still battles to fight, and I'm not saying that we take the...
Why do we always have to take the high road? Like, I could turn this conversation up, man, because honestly, when they put that report out, that bogus ass report on George, instead of going, they should have went to that cop's house first. I think, to be honest with you, the only way that you'll actually, I don't think legislation or none of that shit is going fucking work. You got to make motherfuckers feel.
But you know what though, the most genius thing that white people have. But you know what? The most genius thing that white people have done is they've succeeded in making black people believe that the black vote doesn't matter. And when we turn around and when we talk about going to the Trump election, when we were just talking about that earlier, where we were saying that, like, you know, the Trump election showed us that white people did this, and like Van Jones said, it was a white lash for sure. But if we look at our own community, had we voted in the same numbers that we voted when President Obama was running, Trump wouldn't have made it into office. And it's that idea that going through the Obama election, people felt like we didn't get the things that we were expecting, and it discouraged turnout.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that there's a quote that I heard like a week ago. It said, I mean, with the exception of the 13th Amendment, obviously, but the quote goes, "We have outlawed discrimination in our country, but we haven't outlawed it in our hearts and minds." And it kind of piggybacks off of what one of y'all were saying earlier about how no number of laws that you pass is going to solve it. There's only so much that we can do with the government structure. At some point, we have to awaken as a collective, as a community, and as individuals, and seeing what are my internal biases, what anti-Black sentiments, internalized anti-Blackness do I have inside of me? I grew up as a white Latino in Miami. That is a fucking bubble in and of itself. And it wasn't until I left and went to high school in Central Florida when I said, oh shit, I'm not the center of attention. All of a sudden, I'm a spick and I'm either Mexican or Puerto Rican. What is this? Race? What is this? It was the first time I ever saw a white person for real, for real. It was the first time I ever saw a Black person for real, for real. So I was introduced to America in my teens. And a lot of people live in bubbles. I don't know about y'all, but South Florida got everybody fucked up in terms of racial consciousness. This is one of the most racist place in the country. It's just different. And there's all these layers to it. It's so interesting to watch Afro-Latinos be anti-Black themselves against African-American communities. There are so many layers to this that there isn't any one solution. So right now, we're, as brothers and sisters, as black kings and queens and women of color and men of color in this space, in this circle, talking together, we're sharing a lot, we're talking about a lot, but at the end of the day, we need to remember that we need to have that solutionary mindset. We need to find the balance between collective action and individual responsibility. We have to say, I'm supporting of a cause, but shit, you know what? Let me get my concealed firearms license. Let me make sure I learn about how taxes work. What does it mean to be financially literate? This country will always be capitalist, whether you like it or not. So learn how to do it, because our ancestors and our previous generations have been successful at it before. The problem is once we get too good at it, they get mad and they tear it down. But that's not gonna happen anymore. So let's continue to build and to grow and to help and support each other and lift each other up in this process. I love y'all. I have to go, but I do marvel if it's possible. I would like, if anybody would like to continue this conversation, like I want to keep building with y'all. Like, I don't want this to just be a conversation. I hope that maybe I can develop relationships with some of y'all and seeing how I can support you.
I'm thinking about doing maybe a bi-weekly, maybe even a weekly conversation where we just talk honestly. Because I think it'd be great. Honestly, and this is kind of something that I was going to talk about. I was going to give everybody 60 seconds to talk. But I think one of the biggest problems is that we always address something when it's hot and ready. And when it's cold, we just fucking get rid of it. And we don't, we forget about it. And I think that is the main issue we have right now, where we are putting pressure on this situation right now. And we're trying to see how we can figure it out. But it's only relevant because of what's happening right now. So even when the protesters are gone, even when everything else is gone, guess what happens? That's gone, but racism is still there.
Yeah.
Racism is still fucking activated. So since racism and prejudice is still activated, guess what? We still need to be activated. So that's what I would like to do. So I mean, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, Maj Touré, I would highly advise all of y'all to follow Maj Touré. He's one of my favorite leaders, activists. He's a libertarian. He's a Black conservative. He just tweeted something saying, I want y'all to keep this same energy towards building, learning, and training after the cameras leave. He's a founder of an organization called Black Guns Matter. Just shout out to him. And I hope that we can continue sharing knowledge and resources with each other and connecting each other to different movement work, because what's going to solve this problem is not reaction, it's response. It's not revolution, it's solution. And we need to continue with that mentality and look past the bullshit, look past the small talk criticisms. Like, I used to be enraged when people would say the dumbest shit, whether it was, a again, that example of racism is over because we have a Black president, or even on the issue of sexism, saying that the woman, she should have not worn the skirt, that's why she got raped, or she should have not drank too much. All of those little curveball statements that just get you riled up for some bullshit, don't engage with that. Stay focused and keep working together to come up with real comprehensive solutions. And I'll leave the mic so I don't have to say anything else. I'm sorry if I took too much space, but
it's all good.
Thank y'all for
all right,
everything.
Take care. Peace. All right, so let's move on. Miss Linda, go ahead.
Y'all can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just had to make sure. I wish he was still here, but he took a little bit. But when he talked about us going to the polls and voting and all that, there have been issues when it comes to voting, not only on the Black person's part, but on, like today, people in Pennsylvania wanted to vote early in the morning at 7 a.m. All of a sudden, the first round of voters at 7 in the morning, there's no ballots for them. It's not that we don't want to vote or we're discouraged so our voice doesn't matter. They're stopping us from doing so. And then we get discouraged and don't vote. So it's a double-edged sword, so to speak, whereas they're stopping us from making a difference because they know we can. So they're doing everything they can to make sure, technical difficulty, sorry about that, come later where it may be inconvenient for them because they can't get off work again. They can't take another day off. They don't have the PTO for that, or they don't have the ride to get there, and it took them hours just to get the ride for that day. So we can't just blame us for not having enough turnout. They're stopping our turnout as well. In Pennsylvania, that was one of many other one of many situations that occurs. Some nobody speaks about, but now we're having people recording and speaking against, this is what's happening in my area. Make sure you can vote. Make sure they have the supplies needed. Although if you knew voting was occurring, you would know that you need ballots. How you don't have ballots on the first day? How do you run out all of a sudden, So I just feel like we need to also expose the injustices that are purposely being done to us instead of them blaming us. And sometimes we as Black people blame ourselves, like, we're not united, we're not doing enough. There are a lot of us trying to do enough, but there's technical difficulty stopping us from doing what we want to do.
Yeah, I totally get that side. Like growing up, in North Carolina, we have one of the most gerrymandered states in the country. Like it's actually the case that's been at the Supreme Court this year to say that our lines were so fucked up that in 2016, people voted down ballot. We elected a Democratic governor, but our state legislature was Republican. And it didn't make sense. People tried to look at it, and it was because they intentionally drew the lines to make it that even if enough people of color and poor people showed up to the polls to elect the governor, they'd make it that the governor couldn't do shit because the state legislature would still be red. And it's like the same thing when they'll try and purposely move voting days to like times where there's a bad fucking thunderstorm or something, or next thing you know, there's not public transportation heading in a direction to get to polls. Like I definitely think those things are real, but I think no matter what the cause is, that we can't move away from voting. Like if you look at any great Black leader we have, I don't know of a single one of them that have turned their backs on voting. Instead, they're pleading with the younger generation to not do that because they fought so hard for the vote. Like people literally died over the vote. And it's like all these things that you're mentioning that they're doing to keep us from voting, that's why they're doing it. They understand the power in it. So they need to stop people from going to the polls. And so it's like getting to a place where we say, whether it's because they're stopping us or because we have people in our community that don't want to, that either way, the solution is the same. How do we get our numbers up so that it's meaningful? Because there's reasons they're locking us out. If our votes didn't matter, they wouldn't be taking all these measures to make it difficult for you to get to the poll.
Do you really think though that voting is the answer to actually cure the ills of our society? And I think, again, like I just feel like, and I think when I really started feeling like this, I know you guys remember Bush Gore when the first time they had the miscount in the state that his brother was governor, which we all knew was bullshit or whatever. They weren't even done counting. They was, we need more count. We still got something to count. We still got something to count. Eventually, like, oh no, we ain't counting. Fuck it, he won. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was like, wait a minute, so y'all not done counting. Everybody says y'all not done counting, but they like, fuck it, he won. We just gonna give it to him. That's the type of shit I be talking about. Like, you know what I'm saying? When it gets to that, that upper level, I feel it's an illusion of inclusion. Now, locally, I'm with y'all. But when it gets to that point, because I'm like, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me everybody, they're admitting that they're not done counting the votes. All the votes haven't been counted. But fuck it, he won. Like, you get what I'm saying? It's always a trick. It's always a trick in the game. It's like they're always gonna have it where, as long as the system stays the way it is, the system has to change. I think once the system changes, now we talking.
But how do you change the system?
Well, okay, well, I'm glad that you brought that up. So before, because we're kind of running out of time right now, but I kind of want to give the floor just a little bit about maybe, I don't know, Deli, do you want to say something? Geisha, Aisha, Jason, you want to say anything on this part? Okay, Deli, you're good. Geisha, you're good? Okay.
She's muted.
Okay, she's muted. Well, she probably can't. Oh, sorry about that. Jason, do you want to say anything? Guess not.
My bad. I was in the bathroom, but I can hear you guys.
We have to wrap up. I just want to know if you want to have anything to say on this topic before we wrap up.
No, I'm enjoying everyone's point of view.
No problem. Aisha, do you want to say anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. All right, so everyone's pretty much good. Price, you're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
I mean, well, yeah.
No, say.
Well, I mean, if I'm gonna say like my last piece, I just want to say that, you know, moving forward from this, we have to understand that we've been marching in place, you know, like all the protests and everything, they've all been marching in place. Now to actually make the changes, yeah, politics comes into play, but, you know, end of the day, like I said, it's all about money. America is capitalist first, you know, and with a two-party system on the federal scale, not much is going to change. You know, let's just be real about that. Not much is going to change. So local is definitely key. You know, it's about getting people more involved locally, more businesses opening up in the neighborhoods, you know, Black people, Black ownership, things of that nature. That's going to give us the power and the confidence that we need in order to actually make change within. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really all I have to say about it.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, I just want to say something real quick, and I'll give everybody's floor as far as like what's, you know, we've been talking about the past, the present, but, you know, what can we do about the future? I think to kind of piggyback with what Price and Andrew said is that not only that we definitely need to have Black businesses, but we also need to fuck with our Black businesses as well too. Yeah. That is something that we need to say. I don't give a fuck how blue, Black and blue, whatever that I need to be in my face to say it, because you know, we've been pretty much been, you know, I guess groomed and kind of like, you know, contorted a little bit to not mess with us. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like not to buy Black, to not do anything. And it's not necessarily saying that we don't have the money. We do have the money. I'm saying this right now, we do. It's just that we need to allocate it into our own ecosystem. And some of you guys don't even know. Do you know how much time does a Black guy stay within the community? Yes.
Like 1 second.
Well, not literally 1 second, but pretty much.
It was like 6 hours, right?
Yeah,
it's like
less than 6 hours. So, you know what I'm saying? Metaphorically, yes, 1 second. Literally under 6 hours. And you can't tell me that we can't do that, because we really seeing so much stuff, even with, you know, everything's been going on and how powerful we are. So it's like, I think we just need to just really just push what we have, because guess what? We are the only race that does not push who we are as a people and what we have. We always be just advocating and honestly just, you know, going for other people, because we need to be okay with our skin. We need to feel validated in our skin, which is another topic to begin with. But I think one of the things we need to do is to buy Black, absolutely. What I'm gonna do is to, you know, to be proactive, because I don't want to just talk about it and just fucking forget about it. I'm going to, because a lot of people here have black businesses, I'm going to put it in the bio and I'm going to share it. And also too, if anybody else has any other black businesses that you want to put in the YouTube bio, let's do that too. That's pretty much where we start. And also to end, plain and simple, we have to file the census. Like the census, we have to file the census. Census is something that we as people do not, just like kind of like voting, but we do not take seriously whatsoever. So if we want some type of funding, if we want certain things to be allocated and to be transitioned, we have to pretty much let them know, hey, this is the type of money that we need for this hospital. This is like, you know, what we need for this. And that is what the census does. So, you know, I was that person to be very transparent back in the day. I used to throw them shits out all the time. Now, no, I don't do that no more because I'm now educated on how powerful the census are. So, Lamar, you want to go ahead? What do you think we can do for the future to move forward?
I think a lot of it is educating ourselves on what's going on. Like you said, with the census, things of that nature, voting. It all kind of flows together. I think that a lot of things, we're talking a lot of bigger things, but even smaller things like volunteering in our communities, the Boys and Girls Clubs, your YMCAs, what local schools, whatever the case may be, if you want to help the kids with their studying or anything of that nature, art schools or whatever the case may be. I think that's also big too, to show the black kids or the kids in community minorities, whatever you want to call it, that there are people who do care about them. I think a lot of that is big, giving them the confidence to see that other people like themselves are there to help them out, that are there, that are smart, that are intelligent, that are willing to actually give up their time to help them do something. So I think that message is always big, and it doesn't take a lot of time. And I think a lot of it is missed and left out when we have these conversations about how do we improve our communities, how do we go forward. So volunteering, I always feel is something that is very valuable. I've done it before, and it does play a big part in pushing our youth forward and pushing them to understand what's going on and being better.
Aisha, you there?
I'm here. Sorry.
No problem. What do you know the question, right? What can we do to pretty much move forward in the future as far as what's our next move?
I mean, just be active. You know, active in the community. I'm big on trying to be the change myself. So I'm not super big in politics. You know, I do what I can, but just being a good human, you know, I like to reach out to the kids. I like to reach out to the community, you know, where I've come from. I'm always giving back. Marvel knows, you know, within my own business, in corporate America, you know, I try to reach out to interns, especially Black interns, and kind of guide them along the way. I feel like they have to kind of, you know, to actually be a change, you got to kind of reach into the BS, you know, those kids that may not have had the opportunity or had the guidance or whatever it may be. So I'm kind of that person. Yeah, I can push you to the polls, I can push you there, but like, what can I actually do to make an impact on those around me? So I think that it's important that we do, you know, do community outreach and things like that. Just remember where you come from. You know, if you made it out, go back. I think that's step one. I don't know if someone said that. I was actually having another conversation, but that's, you know, that's my approach to it, aside from, of course, you know, different petitions and political acts that we can do. Just really go back to the hood and help, you know, help with resumes, help with direction. I've had a lot of people reach out and say, hey, how are you where you are? How are you doing what you do? And I take the time to tell them. I mean, step by step, you know, so.
Speaking about Buying Black, by the way, she does own a great beauty bar. So, you know, we have 3 ladies up in here that does live in Miami. You know what I'm saying? So anything that you need beauty-wise, you know what I mean? Hidden Beauty 305, you know what I'm saying? That's
men too.
And
we actually do
yes,
pedicures and massages and facials and all types of stuff.
Yeah, so. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, now y'all 3 y'all ladies, everybody knows around here, they know that, you know what I'm saying?
And that's my thing, you know, I'm to that point, Marvel, you know, I am not a person that's in the beauty industry. I don't do hair or nails or anything, but I recognize that I could reach into our community and use something that everyone can relate to, you know, and kind of minister through that vessel. So I'm like, okay, cool. If I'm in the shop and I see someone that, shit, you're not even be able to afford a service or whatever, maybe I get DM'd all types of shit. And I just, you know, take them in like, hey, how can I help? How can I be a light? You know, how can I show that, you know, you can do this too, or you can be here one day too, you know? Even if I'm not in the industry, I'm just kind of, you know, finding something that people, Black people especially, can relate to, and I can use that to start those conversations about, you know, generational wealth and black-owned business and things like that. So it's definitely worked. Yeah, it's definitely worked.
John, go ahead.
No, I'm good, bro. I said everything I had to say. Everybody pretty much hit on the main talking points. You know what I mean? I do feel like, you know, I'll make it real quick, that the system that we're in is pretty much rigged. It's the reason why they don't, you know, just reason why they want to keep it a two-party system and everything. Okay. You know what I mean? I think it has to be some type of shakeup. I know they've tried it, you know, saying Libertarian Party, all that type of stuff before, but I really feel like the only way it would actually break things up is if the minorities can come together and some kind of way have some type of party. That way, the number type of thing, we'll actually be able to do something with that. You know, got to get, you know, it's the reason why they keep the electoral college and all that. Yeah. Until they change the system where they can't get the results that they want, I think we'll just be spinning our wheels. That's just how I feel. You know, Absolutely. But everything, like you said, locally, you know, doing what you can in the community, all that shit 100 right there. But I really think that in order to actually have true change, you have to break this shit down, because it's always gonna be some fucking coons that they're gonna have infiltrate. You know what I mean? And even like, you know, what Andrew was saying earlier, about the money aspect. Yeah, that's true, but they'll just have somebody outbid you. You know what I'm saying? Somebody else to buy the other. You know what I'm saying? Be in the pocket, like the way it's set up now. So I just think, like, if you have to shake the system up, once you do that, I think you will see a lot. I think that then we prosper. Other than that, you know, like I said, I just feel like, because it's like I said, it's been 100 years of us voting.
I got you.
We've been here all this time. I was watching Undisputed, and Shannon Sharp said something profound. He was like, why are we the only ones? We've been here as long as everybody else, before a lot of people, but we the only ones that still got to fight for our civil rights. That's not a fucking mistake. That's not motherfuckers not understanding us. Mm-hmm. That's motherfuckers trying to keep us as the bottom caste. And you know what I'm saying? And then they're using the same tactics they use in slavery. You know, kiss some in the house, make those niggas feel like they're better than the field niggas. You know what I'm saying? You keep it separate with it. So you got some Black people, so it ain't so bad, and you just ain't working that hard. Then you got, you know what I mean? You keep everybody divided. And it's hard to unify, because you give somebody a little bit, and then you can keep everybody disseminated. So, like I said, until we actually break the system up the way it is, and I really think that's the only way. If it's some type of minority party, because then we will actually have numbers at that point. You know, but as long as they you know, some of us are Democrats, some of us are Republicans, right. In the end, they're going to always try to keep, you know what I'm saying, the superiority, because that's human nature. And to believe it or not, if we was on top, we probably would do the same shit.
Yeah.
We're their biggest threat. I agree.
So, yeah, I also want to shout out John too, because, you know, he's a dope ass illustrator, and he does a whole bunch of like dope ass work as well too. So I know he wasn't gonna do that, but I'm gonna do that for you. You know what I mean? So anybody who definitely needs that, ain't like, you know, I'll show you his work later, man. He's definitely dope. Who else? I know, Andrew, you want to go? Go ahead.
I do have like something I want to say to kind of piggyback off what John was saying, but to kind of show a possibility on how it could work, you know, in the current system now. The problem is we don't have a code, right? Like, we had one, but, you know, after everything got desegregated, that kind of went out the window, right? So right now, you know, as far as us having our own party, we're not a monolith because we don't all think the same. You know, you could just see that right here, right now. Everybody has different ideas and different thoughts. So what we need to do is have a code where we have these set guidelines. You know what I mean? Like almost like a 10 commandments that we have to stick to, that only deal with our survival and not our personal beliefs. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if we do that, then I feel like we can kind of have a voters block. You know what I mean? Like a block of voters where now we can shop our vote to politicians. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, you guys, you need us. You know, clearly that's why the Democrats always, you know, hit us with the, oh, you're not black if you don't vote for us, stuff like that. So if we come together and have a code where if our politicians don't do these, even 3 things, right? If they don't do these 3 things for us, then we're not giving you our vote. I think they'll switch tune up, you know, because like I said, at the end of the day, it's about money and power, and you know they want to be in power, of course. But if we can't select one of our own as a politician, then they're gonna have to work for that vote. You know, so I think it comes down to
and one of our own too. Here's nothing too, and one of our own that's not in the house.
Yeah, that too. You know,
you got to fix that. That's the main thing.
When I said, you know, to buy a politician, I didn't really mean to buy someone who's already in politics. You know, I more meant of sponsoring our own politician to get up into those ranks. You know, because you got to have a certain amount of money, even to hit the stage. You know what I mean? So. The debate stage. So I think we do need to have economics. That's a huge part of it, you know. But yeah, we have to have a code.
Anything you want to shout out? You know what I'm saying? Any services you would like to build in there? You know what I'm saying? Build in there.
You know, that's always good.
Own. Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's cool. Geisha, what's up? Do you want to say something now, or you don't want to say anything? Anything, or are you good?
I mean, I don't really have anything to say because everyone has kind of just touched on every subject.
Okay.
I would like to know what else I can do aside from attending protests and donating to organizations and buying from Black-owned businesses.
Okay, good. All right, no, I got you. Thank you for that. Delia, I know you're eating, but you know, 60 seconds. Everybody was supposed to get 60 seconds, by the way, but I totally forgot to say that. So, but it's all good. So, Delia, go ahead.
My biggest thing is continued. You want to load it down? Wow. Okay. My twin's here, but she's like right next to me, listening to the same thing. Anyways.
Hi, twin.
It's just continued action. So it's what are we going to do locally? Because locally is what's going to help us build on a national level. And I'm here to, if I have to walk down to my city hall down the street and sit there and be like, listen, we have things to accomplish here, and this is a Black community, that's what I'm going to do every day, every week, anytime, any day I have off, I'm going to do that. If I'm going to use my business as a platform to help give back, say I create masks and I sell them and a portion goes to whatever injustice or whatever needs to be funded, I'm going to do that. But I also want to see if I can find people collectively. Like, it's all about action from now on, because it's so easy for the fire to die down so fast. We're here hashtagging and protesting and videos and pictures and blackouts, but then it just dies after a while until the next like uproar happens again. And that's what I refuse this time, because it's like, how many blatant disrespectful things does the world have to give us for us to be like, all right, enough is enough?
Yeah, how many tears that we gotta cry? How much?
Yeah,
you know, enough. Yeah, I got you. So by the way, too, Ms. Delia also has a great custom business called Diembry. So if you want to put out some shout outs there, like, you know exactly what you do, go ahead.
Oh, so I create custom clothing. I can also help with startups. I do help people who do like t-shirts, etc. I can sometimes get into print design. Right now I'm doing masks to help out with hospitals. I also sell masks. All masks are under $10. And they do have a polypropylene filter in them.
Cool. Matt, go ahead.
Two things I guess I want to say to close was that I definitely support John's idea about needing a new party. And so I do want to make clear that when I'm talking about remembering that like our voice matters and that we need to organize and build a platform, I'm not advocating for like us all being Democrats, for example. That's why I didn't like mention Joe Biden or anyone like that, because I don't think they're going to save us. I just think that at some point we do need to find a way that we can participate in the political process in a way that's going to serve us, because until we lock some of this in with the law, it's not going to be a permanent change. And then to the second part that Andrew keeps bringing up with the economics piece and, you know, thinking about investing in Black businesses, one thing that I think we should probably discuss in a future episode of this is that as a community, we need to start to understand how to raise money and invest in Black businesses the way that white people are doing it in their communities with startups. A lot of Black people don't understand what funding rounds are, how people are going to get the financing, and a lot of these businesses are blowing up, and people are getting rich not because of the amount of sales they made or the amount of customers they have, but literally what people are saying the equity is worth because of how they were able to scale their businesses through investment. And that's something that, like, when you look at Nas with Queensbridge Capital and a few other people out there, like, our community is starting to catch on and get into venture capital and invest in those things. But I think when we talk about like really generating wealth at a large scale where we can influence stuff, we have to take it a step further than just buying Black and literally invest Black and give our best entrepreneurs like the platform and boost they need to be operating at a national scale.
Okay. Anything you want to shout out?
I just got to say, yeah, I agree 100%.
Okay. Okay. Who else? Last one, Linda.
Yes.
Any closing thoughts? Anything you want to shout out?
No closing thoughts. I'm just a future Black female physician in the making right now, currently in med school. Graduate next August. So if you need a primary care physician, hit me up.
Okay, cool. I think we're good. This, you know, I was actually kind of afraid of having this type of conversation because, you know, how Andrew was saying that how, you know, you want to get out of the whole entire feel of, you know, running in place and marching in place. And I don't know if I'm like, maybe I'm alone on this one, but I feel like this was a really great conversation. Like, I really felt like, you know, this was definitely productive, you know. Unfortunately, I think this is the deterrent why people have these type of conversations, because they feel like, you know, it's the water is wet conversation. Like, why are we talking about this when it's already out there? But because it's wet, like, because the water is wet, we have to have these conversations. Like it has to happen. So, and it's great too that we really need to like actually have this thought is that, you know, to have growth, you cannot be subjective in your conversation. You need to be objective. And this is the reason why I brought in different people, walks of life that have different views, you know? And this is probably something that, wait, Lamar, did you go?
Yeah, I went.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure. For some reason, I thought you did. I'm like, wait, what? Okay, good. My bad. But I feel that, you know, to have a proper conversation is to have the uncomfortable conversation. And the way to have the uncomfortable conversation is to have the conversation with the other side. And honestly, that's one of the ways that I feel like we can definitely, you know, progress. I want to thank everybody for participating with Convos with Bishop. Appreciate it. This will not be the last time. Please be safe. It is a absolutely crazy world we live in right now. So first and foremost, you know, just please be safe. And yeah, man, bless y'all.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Bye-bye.